Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today, I hope you're ready to taste the sound of purple, because we're going to be looking at Brother Power the Geek, number 1 and number 2 from 1968, published by DC Comics. This was the creation of Joe Simon, at the time probably in his 50s, but he's writing this hip to the jive comic for all the freaks out there and the hippies. And this is a trend in comics in the late 60s. There's a lot of DC Comics and other companies that I guess it's called modsploitation, where all these old men knew that hippie stuff was selling. The youth market, due to the baby boom, was huge, and they all wanted a piece of the pie. And so these old men who had no clue what was going on were trying to make comics about hippies and just writing crazy dialogue, some weird patois of crazy slang that nobody has ever said in the real world ever. And we shall see a lot of that in these. But these comics are fun as hell. And it's pretty amazing because Joe Simon hadn't done anything for a while. Then in the 70s, he started doing some comics for DC. They're all really wonky and crazy. And I love this comic. This comic's so much. These two comics are fun as hell. They're really idiotic, but they're good. So let's start with the first one. Number 1. Look at this cover by Joe Simon. It looks like a horror comic. I mean, that's horrifying, the geek. He looks really scary. This is actually just a blown-up panel from the comic. The logo is amazing. I found out this is Gaspar Saladino, the famous letterer, one of the greats of all time of lettering. He did a lot of logos for DC because they knew he had the chops. And look at this. Just such a cool, weird, I hate to say it's groovy, but here it is. Here is the real-life scene of the dangers in hippie land. There's a lot. What bad acid trips? I don't know. Getting beat up by cops, tear gas. No, these are more interesting than that. So here we have a little introductory page. And this very kind of pretentious introduction. And it's almost like a movie. It tells you the stars of the comic. And they even have these actors' names. Percy Chandwick Jr. as Hound Dog. Nick Cranston as Paul. Paul Symbolist as Nick. Very odd. And introducing Cindy as herself. So we start off, we see these hippies. Look at Joe Simon. They're sniffing flowers, and they're just being layabouts. So even though he's like trying to get the hippie market, in the captions, he constantly criticizes the hippies as basically being lazy ne'er-do-wells. And so it's kind of, he wants his cake and eat it too. So these bikers come up, led by Hound Dog. And they like to pick on the hippies because they know the hippies are peaceniks and they're pacifists and they don't fight back. So these hippies once again get the shit kicked out of them. This just happens all the time. And try and find some of the dialogue here. So I'll find some later. So these two guys, Nick and Paul, their clothes are a little bloody and all messed up, and they're wet from blood, I guess. So they're in there like an abandoned tailor shop where they squat, and there's an old tailor dummy there. So they put the clothes on the dummy and put it near the radiator to let him warm. Then I guess they forgot about it because months go by. And I guess something about lying in the sunlight from the window, absorbing dust and rain and oil, and the warmth of the radiator does something to it, and then it's all catalyzed by a bolt of lightning. And it strikes this dummy. And so Brother Power wakes up, looking like a monster once again. Pretty scary looking. So the bikers happen to break through the window right now, and they attack. Brother Power is not a pacifist. He, at first, he's confused. They're stomping on him, and he just takes his motorcycle and knocks the shit out of these guys. Look how good Joe Simon is. Like, I guess working with Jack Kirby all those years, he learned a lot. That is such a, dynamic, energetic panel. It's really good stuff. Good comic book work. And so they christened him Brother Power, because he's strong, I guess. So they befriend him, and all the hippies accept him. And I love this. He likes to, just run around the rooftops. It says right here, but the lazy ways of the hippies are not for Brother Power. He wants to savor life, to soar like a bird. But just the way he's all, janky and just malformed. Look at him here. I would love to see, if this was a movie, how the actor would do this, the movement. It would just look really creepy, I think. And so he can't even talk. So Nick and Paul say, we're going to teach him how to talk. We're going to teach him English. So several months later, he's talking like them. Man, I tell it like it is now. The sound is groovy. It blows my mind. And Nick and Paul are like, where did we screw up? His English is terrible. I'll tell you how we screwed up. He talks like us. They realize that, they have to give him a proper education. So they send him to school. And somehow this elementary school accepts this fucking freak with all these little kids around. It's so nuts. So Brother Power wants to drop out. He's ashamed of going to school with all these kids. He says, I'll go to school, but you have to carry me in this bag. This way I would feel different, which I don't understand that. And look at him. He folds himself up like he's paper. He never does that again. I mean, he shouldn't be able to do that. He's just a rag doll that's come to life. Just very odd. So Brother Power is actually really smart. Once he starts learning stuff, he just soaks it up like a sponge. And using the science lab, he realizes that he's powered by electricity. The little springs inside of the dummy have stored all this, energy. And he gets kind of existential. He says, but when will I be switched off? How long is my trip on this earth? And luckily, one of them says, let's make another scene. So they're walking down the street and they see this psychedelic circus parade. This is just crazy. This is just Joe Simon. This is what a wackadoo. So Brother Power is helping him lift up their, one of the floats is broken down or something, or the chain is fallen off. And then all these guys chain him up, kidnap him. Nick and Paul try to help, but, they're pacifists. They're hippies. Not only are hippies lazy, but apparently they're weak and ineffectual. So they think that it's the Mongrels, that motorcycle gang, who kidnapped Brother Power, pretending to be the psychedelic circus people. So somehow they confront the mongrels, and I don't know why they think it's going to go any differently, but they're dressed up like that Revolutionary War painting. And then everyone else is dressed up as superheroes. But they're like hippie superheroes with flowers on their chest. Oh man, just nuts. This is like a Mort Weisinger edited comic. It's so stupid, but it's so much fun to read because you never know which way the plot's going to go. It just goes in insane directions. So, of course, the mongrels beat the shit out of them once again. I don't know what they thought we were thinking. And Hound Dog tells them, like, we didn't take your geek. So apparently there really is a psychedelic circus in town. And I don't know why they didn't just think that to look for that circus. And they pretend that they're going in for a job. They're getting, they need a job at the circus. But they really want to snoop around. And they go to the freak show. Man, I fucking love this shit. Look at this. Joe Simon just being nuts. And then for some reason, Alfred Hitchcock is peeking in. I don't know why. Really well drawn, Alfred Hitchcock. I didn't think Joe Simon had those kind of chops. So Nick and Paul see all these freaks, and Brother Power's one of them. He's chained up. Look at this Marvin. This guy's just named Sam. So the strongman guy is the guard. So they kind of throw mud in his face. And he slips in the mud. Because they can't outfight the guy. They can't unchain Brother Power. It's too strong. And they're kind of making a mess of the whole thing. But he trips over some spotlights and short circuits them. And the electricity goes to Brother Power. There's some water. It electrocutes him, but that only gives him more power. So he breaks out of his chains, beats up the strong man, and then they escape. So now they're back at their pad. That's what they used to call where you lived back then. But it kind of messed him up. So they got to patch him up. This is where we get to meet Cindy. It almost looks like Joe Simon didn't draw her. She's too pretty. He draws a really pretty girl, Joe Simon. And Brother Power instantly has a crush on her. So she sews him up. She's a seamstress, I guess. And gives him a little flower decal. And then does this ridiculous shit to him. Like, I wish Brother Power stayed like that scary-looking monster guy. But now he just looks so silly. It's like Raggedy Ann bullshit. And once again, a little chop at the hippies. Now we can go back to our old life in ways. Like protesting against the establishment, mainly doing nothing. Because those hippies were just, all they cared about was just being lazy. I'm sure some of them were, but so are most people. And then Brother Power says, I could be president. But he's starting, he knows he's got to work his way up. So he runs for Congress. And all the hippies are handing out flyers, helping him out. I like this well-drawn little guy here. He's just saying, yuck. Vote for Brother Power and Flower Power. Those rosy cheeks are such a bad move. So the police are called to the psychedelic circus. And the guy, the ringmaster says, yeah, this Brother Power did all this damage. And for some reason, he just has a little logo here, like it's a chapter heading Dragnet in Hippie Land. That's a great name for a movie. I would watch that movie. With Jack Webb and Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda. So the cops come to the tailor shop, and the circus guys are helping the strongman's there. And here we see the cover scene. So he has to become a fugitive. Brother Power is just basically in the sewers trying to hide. And the Mongols happen to be in the sewers. This is a little later. Some time passes. And for some reason, at the other end of a tunnel, waiting for him almost, is a cameraman, from a TV cameraman. So Paul and Nick see a TV in the store window, and they say, "Hey, look, it's Brother Power." And Brother Power is beating the shit out of the Mongols once again. And this is crazy. He grabs one of their motorcycles, takes this jump off of a little hillock, and he flies like the height of a skyscraper into the city. And so the newsmen are all just like, whoa, who is this character? This is a parody of or caricatures of Hunt and Brinkley, the famous news team of the 60s. So they call it the National Guard. And Brother Powers, everyone's chasing him. The police and the National Guard, they're on motorcycles too. They have him cornered on a bridge. And he says there's no place to go. And so he jumps right off the bridge and crashes into the water. And it doesn't come up. So his three friends are like, I wonder if we'll ever see him again. A hank of hair, a rag, and a bone. He was hardly more than a dummy, yet he was almost the very most. And the omniscient narrator even says, is Brother Power dead? Maybe, maybe not. Find out next swinging issue. We have a nice little Meet Joe Simon article. He's all joking around. I think he's trying to be like Stan Lee or something. Talking about his history in comics. I mean, he was there at the start, Joe Simon. So he's been making comics for almost 30 years at this point. I guess that's it. Some really good ads. Now let's look at number 2. Unfortunately, this is the last issue. They only lasted 2 issues. Not surprisingly. I don't know who they thought this would sell to. Another pretty scary cover. I mean, this looks like a horror comic. I think they were trying to make this the tagline. A thing that lives and fights for its soul. That's very odd. So we see Brother Power in this, I guess it's a river. Very Will Eisner-like logo here. I guess it's supposed to be some other bridge that's broken. So there's these kind of like tramps. I should just say, actually, I really fucking love this panel, by the way. This is some great shit. So there's these tramps who live by the river. They fish all the time. They're a bunch of kids, basically. And I think they're homeless. And they fish Brother Power out of the river. They put him up on this like fish rack so he can dry out. But then from a vantage point above, these strange military figures, they look like they're from World War I, you know? And they've got these like wooden planes, like fake planes. And the leader is called the Baron. So basically these things are just gliders. So they're like, I don't know, like a gang, I guess. Who think they're like World War I, you know, aces like the Red Baron. So they shine a light down on the fishing guys. And I guess this is kind of dumb. The spotlight is so powerful that it brings Brother Power back to light. I guess it's got some energy in it. So they fly down on their glider. He insists on calling it a Fokker. The Baron does. Oh, I guess those other guys are called the Clinkers for some reason. The fishermen. I don't know why. This whole idea is nuts. There's these weird... It's almost like The Warriors, that movie. There's these like street gangs that are like this elaborate with costumes, and it's just very silly, but fun as hell. So basically their gliders just always crash. I mean, they're just gliders. They eventually have to land. And when they land, they usually just crash. But they do get the drop on the Clinkers because it crashes into their dock. And the Baron likes Brother Power's boots, and he's going to steal them. And then Brother Power wakes up finally, gives him a swift kick in the gut. And he scares them all off. So Brother Power tells the Clinkers his origin, and they show panels from the first issue. Nice way for Joe Simon to get paid without drawing anything for half a page. And it's weird. One of the first things he says is, yeah, don't call me a geek. I really don't like that name. And they keep calling him a geek. And he's just like, guys, I detest the name geek. I love these, how all these ads had comics in them. Poorly drawn, but I just like comics. I wish everything was comics. So he kind of joins the Clinkers. And once again, you know, the Clinkers are just like, hey, man, we just hang out all day. We got our turf. That's all we need. And he said, and Brother Power says, that's not enough for me. There are jobs to be had. So he's so not a hippie. He's basically this total, like, you know, capitalist. In this issue, we'll find out just how much. So he gets a job in a supermarket. Totally impresses the hell out of the boss. He's super good. You know, he's really strong. But he's also, like, almost got the superpowers. So this woman's so impressed, she gives him a card. Her husband owns a factory, a missile factory. And there's something slowing up the factory. It's like they need an efficiency expert to tell them what's going on. They can't figure it out. And then for somehow, this is just very silly. There's this guy called Lord Slide Rule, who's supposedly like a genius efficiency expert. But basically, to ask for his help, he gets control of the company. It's very silly. So I just want to stop and say, though, look at how nutty his entourage is. These two little mongoloid weird little freaks. And then these two weird muscle men. Oh, man, just odd stuff. So they kind of almost take over the place. But technically, if they don't solve the problem, they don't get the company. And the guy who owns the company, it's a family business, he's just shattered. He's, you know, so crestfallen that he's losing control of his company. So they fire Brother Power. Because Lord Slider Rule's like, I didn't hire him. He's out of here. And they try to muscle him out, but Brother Power kicks their ass. And Mr. Acme, that's the name of the owner, he says, hey, I'm still giving orders here. So Brother Power is on the line. They show him the place where this is so idiotic. So apparently the slowdown on the assembly line is because there's this one part where the guy has to reach over all the way here and then put it back on the belt. At most, that would take 2 seconds. It would slow you down, but by 2 seconds. But they're like, oh, yeah, we're losing 56 seconds every 10 minutes or something. because this guy has to reach over on his left with his right hand. Yeah, 49 seconds, it says. So a slide rule can't figure it out. And these guys want to take over the missile factory just so they can sell the secret blueprints. They'll have access to all the secret blueprints from the government, and then they'll sell them to foreign evil powers. So he figures it out. Brother Power looks at it for a minute and says, wait, if you had a left-handed person here, they wouldn't have to reach their right arm over. Oh my God, it's so stupid. So all you need to do is hire left-handed people for that position, and everything will be right as rain. So slide rule orders his men to attack, because if the management finds out that he figured it out, they won't get the company. So he's beating them up and also running away from them, kind of fending them off for a while. And he decides to fight. Because he's not a violent person, he says. He doesn't want to fight, but they gave him no choice. So he saves the factory for Mr. Acme. But then we have a dilemma here, because he's made chairman of the board. That's how impressed he is with this left-handed solution. But all these hippies, some of them are his friends, are protesting the missile plant. Crush violence, no more war missiles. Peace now, no more missiles. Acme's missiles kill kids. And some of the factory workers just come out and beat the crap out of the hippies for, just exercising their civil rights to protest this plant. So Brother Power comes out and says, there's been a misunderstanding. Stop. Our missiles are for outer space, not war. So you'd think like these hippies might have did a little research, but then again, hippies are apparently very lazy. And then on top of that, he even gets them all to work at the factory. So all these hippies all of a sudden get jobs at the factory. So silly. Yeah, of course, one of Slide Rule's henchmen says, would you believe those hippies are actually working? So they try to do some propaganda, and they send a little note to the newspaper. Like, hey, here's a scoop for you. Are hippies slowing down space program as protest? Who would believe such a story, says Cindy. So they're going to launch an unmanned missile the next day. So now, Brother Power just joined this company like a week ago, apparently. And now he's like in charge of launching this missile. So maybe he is that smart. And they launch the missile. There's this suspenseful countdown. And then it explodes in midair. Okay, I got to interrupt the story here. Speaking of comic ads, this is Jack Davis, The Adventures of Tiger Boy, which is a type of tire for a bicycle. And I like it. It's really like loose, weird, I don't know, different Jack Davis than normal. I love this style. That's a nice little bonus, just getting this one-page Jack Davis comic, because I don't have it anywhere else. I've never seen it before. So Brother Power's looking in the rubble for sabotage. And the governor is taking this very seriously. It's like the geek could have been in league with those demonstrators. And they realize he's a wanted man. The cops are still looking for him from that psychedelic circus business. And so this is crazy. They send tanks to the factory, and they're like, come out. And she says, they'll never believe you. But this is nice. It brings her, we realize Cindy might have feelings for him. And then the Baron shows up. And he says, I'll get you out of this. I was drummed out of the gang after you clobbered me, so I joined the hippie movement. Oh, God. But he still has friends in the gang. So he calls up one of them on a walkie-talkie, and he says, attack. And it's one of those gliders again. And once again, it just crashes. Oh, gloriously stupid. I love this. God, that's a good ad. I totally want to buy that comic. I would at least read it. So Brother Power jumps off the roof. And he says, maybe I can escape in this confusion. So he says, I'll hide in the missile. And, but Slide will see him running in. And they're at the missile control panel. And they launch it into space. Paul says, great Krishna, they shot him. They shot Pow up into space. That's an annoying thing. They call him Pow, short for Brother Power. And the hippies find evidence on Slide Rule's person that they were the ones who sabotaged the missile. So Brother Power's name is cleared. Slide Rule is taken away to jail. And a rare display of energy, the aroused hippies overcome Slide Rule and his cohorts. Oh, those hippies. That night, and they're just, all the hippies are looking up at the night sky saying, poor Pow, I wonder if we'll ever see him again. Will we see the geek again? We will. Why should we kill off a good thing? Believe us, the geek will touch down in good time for the next issue. But you'll never believe where. Yeah, I'll tell you where. The canceled comics cavalcade. Because this is the last issue. We have a little wonderful world of comics. Some news about DC. And a little biography of Joe Kubert. I also want to read these comics. So that's it. Oh, God, that's a cool ad. Wow. Aurora model kits. Oh, man. I hope you guys can find these somewhere. They might. I think DC's reprinted them in some kind of trade paperback or something. But this is just... It's just... I'll be honest with you, I had a really shitty day today. You know, sometimes you just don't like whatever, living, and you're just bummed out. And I was like, I got to read something that'll make me happy. And I knew this would. I haven't read these in 8-10 years. And I was like, I'm doing the geek today. I'm not doing anything, serious and artistic. I just want to relive the geek. So please buy these at any price. These will make you happy as they do me. So I hope you enjoyed it. I doubt you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed reading them and showing them off to you. But also, I hope you return here to the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.